Ladles and Jelly Spoons. Welcome to TLP, episode number 56. Hell yeah. I'm here with Ben Frey. Thanks for joining me, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That's right, yeah.
And we're on...
You have one of those radio voices.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do. 'Cause I'm sure people have told you that before. It's like, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of how this started. We did a little radio thing from my house. Mm-hmm. We broadcast a pirate FM signal.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't get caught, thankfully, which was a good time.
Yeah.
And then I decided I really enjoyed it, so I kept doing it.
Yeah.
And so here we are. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was great you asked me. Right, I wish I had pressed buttons just before that when you said it. Do I have any questions?
Do you have any set questions? Do you have any
No.
you have a list of what we're going to talk about? No.
No.
Oh no. Okay. We're just playing this by ear.
It's a pirate broadcast.
We're just winging it, and it's just going to go out there into the ether like, you know, some unplanned thing. Okay.
Yep. That's exactly how we do this. Exactly how we do this.
Yeah.
I was standing on stage the other day commenting on how strange it is that I am so comfortable with the awkwardness now.
Oh, yeah.
I always looked up to Johnny Carson because people said how incredible it was, so I went and watched, and his ability to do that.
Yeah.
I'm learning that one.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because you have to have a certain amount. Comedy is awkwardness. It's, you know, it's you're playing on that. And I don't watch too many comedians because I don't want too much material in my head that in mine. Because, you know, after a while, you know, you'll write something down and you go, wait, did I think of that or did I hear that? You know? And so then you have to take it around to everybody. It's like, have you heard this before?
Yeah.
And so I don't, but I wound up on Netflix the other day watching Eliza, I think her name's Eliza Schlesinger.
Yeah, her new one. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard about it.
Yeah. And
what'd you think?
Yeah, she's very funny. And I mentioned to, you know, our friend Lindsay Reen, I said, she's funny and she's also really hot, which is, you know, an unusual combination. And she said, well, that's sexist. And and I was like, no, I'm not saying that. It's not because she's a woman and she's hot and funny. It's that everyone who is good looking has a problem expressing funny. It's just I think you have to have a certain amount of awkward weirdness to be able to be funny. And so it's harder for somebody who is really like what we think of as classically handsome or beautiful to be funny, because then you're like, you know.
What do you know about the struggle?
Right. because people who are good looking are taken seriously, and that's the last thing a comedian wants to be. Is taken seriously.
It's true. That's true. And people just go along with what pretty people say. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to have that little kind of like, you know, Woody Allen without the, you know, sexual predator thing.
Good luck.
You know, right. You have to have that kind of like, you know, Andy Kaufman, Woody Allen kind of looking, you know, weird kind of a little bit something that's not quite completely okay. if you get, because, you know, people go, well, you know, Seinfeld isn't ugly. He's not ugly. I said, well, no, he's not ugly, but, you know, he's not going to be cast as James Bond either. He has a face. He has a face that looks comical. It projects a kind of like a cartoony kind of vibe.
Yeah, I was thinking the way he holds his mouth.
Yeah.
He's got that look of just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was my thing. You have to have a certain awkwardness, a certain thing about you that people can find relatable.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of times also very modelly looking people. It's hard to relate to them. Yeah, you're perfect. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, so there's that. And
you were talking just on the relatability. I wanted to double back to something that you were talking about before I got to turn this on. Something that I didn't know we shared in common.
Oh yeah, there's my air conditioner. It's actually meant to be I think in some kind of like industrial building or something.
Yeah,
it
sounds like
it's going to be. You're going to hear that on this, I think. So yeah.
We upgraded to lapel mics.
Oh, great.
So we're doing better. We will hear less of it.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Than we used to.
All right.
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Relatability was the perfect segue to something that I didn't realize we had in common. Sherlock Holmes. You brought that up beforehand. I too am a huge Sherlock fan. So as soon as you said it, I was like furiously plugging things in.
Yeah.
So we could talk about it because that's a great jumping off point. Because
I'm a huge fan of Holmes. I started like when I was like maybe a teenager reading the short stories that were published in the Strand back in the 18 and the novels, the Study in Scarlet, and then watching like the Basil Rathbone movies. Yeah. And for the longest time, Basil Rathbone was like, "Wow, that guy's Sherlock Holmes. That's who you think of when you see Sherlock Holmes."
Now, refresh my memory. I think I remember that, but paint a picture for those listening that may not have seen the Basil Rathbone.
Oh yeah,
versions of
they
Sherlock.
were. I think I can't remember what production company made them, so I'm not going to say. But it was back in the 30s, like they were made in between like probably the middle 30s to the middle 40s. So they did the Hound of the Baskervilles and Study in Scarlet, and Basil
I think of it
Rathbone
as like the Alfred Hitchcock era.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, yeah.
It's just what my mind
Hitchcock
sees.
went a little further into like the 50s and 60s too, but no, I mean, Basil Rathbone had the look, when Arthur Conan Doyle described Sherlock Holmes, he described it as a tall, gaunt man, big nose, and he just embodied Sherlock Holmes for that era, I think. And then the BBC and Grenada Television in the 80s came out with The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and what they did was they took like each of the individual stories from like the Strand, like the Red-Headed League and things like that, and they made them into episodes and into 1 hour episodes, and they did it with such perfection. I mean, every little detail. I mean, you could stop those shows, and I don't know if you saw the illustrations that Sidney Paget did.
I think so.
In the old books.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like they recreated those things, and the actor's name was Jeremy Brett, who portrayed Sherlock Holmes, and he was just magnificent. I mean, he was just like the whole thing was like looking at what you saw in your head when you read the books.
Yeah.
And so those were great. An interesting thing, the old Basil Rathbone movies. A lot of people like, and I like it too. The Sherlock series, the Benedict did that when they brought Holmes into present day later on. When they were in the Basil Rathbone movies.
Okay.
And the reason they did it was it was the 40s, and World War II was going on. And they thought it would be interesting and kind of a way of plugging the war effort, sort of, at the time, to have Sherlock Holmes battling the Nazis. Battling Nazi spies and stuff. So that's
Superman was going to battle Nazis.
Oh,
so was Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, right.
By George.
Yeah, and And so they did that, and it's like, well, they were the first ones that modernized Holmes. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. But I do like the Jeremy Brett modernization of Sherlock Holmes. It was my son that actually told me about it. He said, "Have you seen Sherlock?" And I was like, I don't know. Sherlock Holmes is the 1800s. He's the, so I don't know about making him modern, And I watched it, and the way they did it was so, I think, just reverent to the material that they took it from, that it worked. It wasn't, he wasn't running around in affliction T-shirts and stuff, and driving a Ferrari or something, and hey, I'm Sherlock Holmes, Right. But, yeah, and it was just, I thought it was just great the way they did it, and I'm a huge Bond fan too, huge James Bond fan.
Well, I'm going to use the segue. I'm going to use the Sherlock as the segue into comedy, because that particular version.
Because we all know what a cut up Sherlock
Cumberbatch
is.
Yeah. Not at all. Not at all. But I use Cumberbatch's version of Sherlock to segue into via high functioning sociopath into mental illnesses.
Right.
And but that gets us to comedy cheaply.
Yeah.
And that's where we met.
Yeah.
I was doing stand up comedy at the Blind Mule.
Yeah.
So when you are not doing Elton John.
Yes. Yeah.
What's the name of that group again?
The name is Still Standing, a tribute to Elton John. We're on Facebook.
So plug all that real quick.
Yes.
To back up a little bit of a backstory, and some of the things that you do besides, indulge in Sherlock.
Yeah, right.
When you're performing, which you've been doing for how long? Have you been paying tribute to Sir Elton?
Oh, that was started in the early 2000s.
And the name one more time for everybody. Where can they find it on Facebook?
The name of the band is Still Standing, a tribute to Elton John, and we're on Facebook, so look us up.
We've been doing that for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
That's great.
And before that, I've always sounded like Elton, and singing, not necessarily speaking, but I've always been a mimic. I can do different voices, and but Elton was somebody I was a huge fan in the 70s when I was a kid, and I started singing the records, and the more I sang to them, the more I could mimic the vocal pattern that he had. So, and then it kind of aged. And now I pretty much sound like he does now, and so
it worked out well.
And for a while, I would go to I'd go out in some place. We go somewhere that's doing karaoke or something. It'd be like a parlor trick. It was like, oh, look who I can sound like,
right?
And then somebody came up to me one day, and they said, you kind of look like him a little bit, and I thought, well, that's sad. And couldn't look like Sting, couldn't look like Bono, right? Had to look like Elton John. So, but they said, if you did your hair a little different, if you had we're doing 2 shows this weekend, so all this shit on my face will be gone. And which, for those of us who are not watching this, those who are listening, I have shit on my face. It's a fetish. But anyway.
Yeah. I got a cold, so I wasn't going to say anything.
But anywho, the facial hair will all be gone. Because Elton doesn't have it. But they said, if you did your hair a little different and everything, you could pass for a younger kind of Elton, skinnier Elton, and so, we kind of I was married at the time, and my wife and I just kind of threw around this idea for a little while. And I can play the piano. I can play it passively. I'm not on a level that Elton is, but I can fake it, And she said, well, why don't you look into doing a tribute band, because there's a lot of tribute bands, and I don't know anybody that does an Elton tribute,
Yeah.
So I got in touch with some other musician friends, and we, wound up putting stuff. First, I started doing it by myself, just me and keyboard.
Yeah.
And in small venues and stuff like that, and then I got some people behind me, and we started doing larger venues, and that's it's pretty much been the way it's been
And when you
going
say
since.
larger venues, you guys put on big shows now.
Yeah, I mean we do the Blues on the Bay Music Festival in Pensacola every
Which
year.
is a big deal.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh,
That's awesome.
Thank you. We did the Hard Rock a couple of weeks ago in
Again,
Biloxi.
cool show, man. How was that?
It was good. This is our third time at the Hard Rock.
Nice.
And I like it. I like the Hard Rock's cafe area, because you actually get an audience. There's people that they come in, they sit at tables, they're an audience.
Yeah.
Because one of the drawbacks to playing generally at casinos is they put you on the stage. It's usually over a bar, and so your whole audience is generally just whoever is sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are out playing the games.
Yeah.
Because you're in the gaming room. And so you wind up basically being like a human version of the animatronic band at Chuck E. Cheese. Because, people are just like, they're not paying. You play a song and you hit that last note and they're like, and nothing comes back. It's just, you hear that, Wheel of Fortune, and that's all you hear.
Exactly what you hear in a casino, though.
Yeah.
It's like, that was a really good impression.
Well, thank you. And then you'll be on a break and somebody will come up and they go, hey, you sound great. You sound great. Well, where the fuck are you? Because,
right.
I mean, you're not, I don't, well, yeah, we were over there at the roulette table. Oh, okay.
Oh, we're actually coming out of the speakers.
Right. Yes. And, but, the casinos pay really well.
Yes.
So you do them.
They do. Yes,
And,
they do.
But yeah, but my background before the Elton thing was comedy. I started doing comedy before I did anything else.
Look at you being an awesome host and bringing us back
thanks,
around,
sir.
since I ran right past that. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
I didn't plan that, but I just have to. You fucking rock,
thank you,
dude.
thanks
Good
very much.
job.
I appreciate it.
So you
Yeah.
started doing comedy before
in
you got
1990.
into the music?
Yeah, 1990 was when I first started doing comedy.
Wow.
And I had
About the time Empire Strikes Back was hitting high def VHS,
Right, yeah.
if I recall,
Right.
since you've got an Empire Strikes
Yeah.
Back.
Oh,
mark.
hey, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you have Rick and Morty. Yeah. That's
Well, there you go.
yeah.
There's no Rick and
favorite.
Morty reference for the 90s.
No, it's not. But but it's one of the most well-written shows on TV, I think.
Fuck yes, it
really
is.
good.
Love it to death.
But the 1990, I had just gotten divorced, and I got up one day and I said, I don't really necessarily have to go to this job anymore, because I was selling clothes, and I said, I don't really have to go to this job anymore. I don't really have to live where I'm living anymore. I don't really have to. I mean, what do I want to do?
Right.
And I had thought about doing stand-up before, and at the time, being newly divorced, I had no money, and so comedy has no overhead. You don't have to buy equipment. You don't have to buy instruments. You don't have to buy you walk in. They hand you a microphone that they bought,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you just do it. So I was like, yeah, I might. Yeah. So I called. There was a place in Mobile at the time called the Mobile Comedy Lounge. It was on Highway 90.
Yeah, I remember.
Next to Whataburger and Food World, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great location for nothing. It was really, truly, yeah. and so
There was a Mexican restaurant out there,
Yeah.
not too far. I can't remember the name of it, but they had some of the best.
El Euro.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so
I got Credmobile.
right,
What?
yes, that's right. Yes. And so I call him up and I was like, "What all does this entail?" Well, you get 5 minutes, write a 5-minute bit, come do it. That's it. So I did. I got a friend of mine who is also a pretty good with, putting funny stuff together, and he and I whittled what I thought was 5 minutes. That's something nobody tells you when you go, okay, oh yeah, this is definitely 5 minutes, and then you get up there and it's 2. It's 2 minutes, and you're like, fuck, that's all I wrote, and yeah,
Yep.
and so, but I did. I went out and I went up, and the first time was okay. If it hadn't have been, I'd have never done it again. Mm-hmm. I've seen guys, and I admire this. I've seen guys that go up and just die. I mean, just die a horrible death, and they come back the next week.
Right.
Yeah. And I've seen
been that guy.
Yeah. And I've seen that not get any better. And I've seen it where they actually slowly build on that.
Yeah.
Until they are good. And I would have never done that.
So if you hadn't been okay,
yeah,
you would have thrown the hat in
yeah,
right
they're
there.
like, no, apparently I can't do this. So, but I did that, and well, I guess that 6 months later, so I became their house MC, or one of their rotating house MCs.
Nice.
And then later on, I went on the road, and I was on the road for 2 years. And that was my sole source of income for a little while.
Wow. Back in the 90s when you could make money being a comic.
Yeah. You could go and they paid you, and and you went to real comedy clubs, like they had comedy in the name of the place, like Ha-Ha's and the Laugh Factory and there was, and you couldn't swing a dead cat in the 90s without hitting a comedy club.
Really?
Every town practically had a comedy club.
Sure.
There was a place that's actually a very good room to play for a long time in Dothan. There was a comedy club.
Nice.
Yeah. And
of all places.
I know. I arrived there and I was like, so what is there to do in Dothan? And they said this, and you're the entertainment. And that's it.
Ta-da.
Yeah. And just I opened for people. I opened for Killer Bees probably about a half dozen times. I've opened for Carrot Top, Steve Harvey.
Nice. Very
Bobcat
fun.
Goldthwait.
The Bobcat.
Yeah, that was funny. That was.
Those are all funny people.
Well,
That's an impressive list.
Yeah, he was here around the time comedy started winding down, and I started going in a different direction. But
did you open for him at the Sanger when he was here?
No, I opened for him at a comedy club called Lestrade that was downtown behind A Spot of Tea. The guy that owned A Spot of Tea. Well, that's not good.
I was gonna say. Yeah. I was gonna say.
I'm gonna turn the ringer off. But
yeah, in that case, I'll do the same thing because somebody did that the other day.
Oh yeah. So the guy that owned A Spot of Tea, he used to come to his name's Tony. Mm-hmm. He used to come to the Mobile Comedy Lounge all the time, and he would. I didn't know that he was really an entrepreneur or anything. He was one of the audience members that was a regular. And he used to come up and he'd go, one day I'm going to have a comedy club. And I was like, whatever, loser. And, and then he did. And
dang.
Yeah. And, but it didn't, unfortunately, it didn't last very long. But he pulled some big names. He pulled Bobcat. Tommy Chong came a few times. Killer Bees was here with it, and I'm trying to think of the name of this guy Steve Landisberg. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He used to be on Barney and Miller. That was his big claim to fame, the TV show. But he was also around as a comedian for a very long time. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show. He was on Johnny Carson. He was on. I think he was a member of the Ace Trucking Company back in the 60s, and so he was a very seasoned comic.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Bobcat did his shows, and on the last night, I was married to my second wife at the time, and we're all about to leave, and he's like, "So what are you guys gonna do?" And we said, "Well, we thought we'd go out and sing." And he goes, "Karaoke?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I like karaoke. Let's go do that." And so we take him to this place on 90 called the Executive Club, and he didn't sing. He said, "No, I'm not. I'm just here to watch. I'm just here to watch." And he just sat in the back of the. We just sat in the back of the room with him, and people didn't recognize him really because he was not. Everybody thinks about Bobcat Goldthwait. They think of the guy that was in, the Police Academy movie. He's kind of chubby, long hair, and he had gotten skinny. He'd cut off all the hair. He had it bleached at the time, so he was kind of incognito. But he said, I love kitschy, cheesy shit. I love it.
Yeah.
And so that's why he wanted to go watch karaoke.
And hear the sing-alongs.
Yeah. But there was a lady that was there, and she was a very large woman, very buxom, and she had big hair, and this was not the 90s, you understand? This is all very anachronistic at this point. And I was like, she had the big hair, and she was big, and she had a very colorful outfit on, and Bob leans over and he goes, I don't want to be a dick or anything, but is she wearing some kind of costume? And I was like, no, that's just the way she looks. And he goes, I'm a dick.
Not at all.
Yeah, right.
Not at all.
His voice is not like that's like how he speaks normally. The time, like everybody expects that Bob is gonna be like this all the time. No. In fact, I don't know how he does like 45 minutes of stand-up in that voice.
I don't think he does anymore.
I hope not.
No, I think he's dropped it altogether.
I mean, that's hard. What I did just now, it's hard to do. And I don't know how Gilbert Gottfried does what he has. I guess people's voices are what they are, but when you're imitating, you're doing something unnatural to you. But I don't know how Gilbert Gottfried does this voice the entire time. It's got to be annoying even to him. Yeah. So.
I think that one's a little more natural.
Yeah.
Than
Bob's. Yeah.
Than Bob's, because I listen occasionally to Gilbert's podcast.
Oh yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, and he does not sound
like that.
Not like he did when he was on stage and when he was MC and stuff at all. So
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely part of that that's put on.
Gilbert is
for sure.
Gilbert is like that. I've heard people say he's a comedian's comedian because
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because he will he'll structure his jokes in such a way that they're like an homage sometime to old jokes.
Yeah.
And you have to know it to get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and his podcast is all older actors, like what I would call the classic days of Hollywood, you know, going further back. And so he's very into paying homage to all things classic Hollywood, I
yeah.
think, and classic
I'll have to
entertainment.
listen to that. I haven't.
Yeah, I know it's on SoundCloud. I can't remember the name of it, but Gilbert Gottfried, it's pretty easy to search. And he's just one of those guys that has been around. You just want to hear him tell stories. Like,
Yeah.
just dish, man. Just dish.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
But you see, getting back to me.
Yeah, right. Sorry. No, we digress. Sucking some Gilbert Gottfried dick over here.
But there was there came a point after I was on the road for a while when clubs just started and the comedy bubble burst.
Yeah.
And I can tell you exactly when the comedy bubble burst, because the comedy bubble started in like the middle 80s, I would say. And it started to grow and grow, and comedy clubs just, popped up everywhere, and there were comedians, people that shouldn't have been comedians, even, because they needed people. And
I know, I've heard Marshall talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
Kidding. Love you, Marshall.
But because Marshall predated me by about 10 years. We missed each other just like, I think we overlapped slightly. I never met the guy until I started going to the going to the Blind Mule. And but he was at the Mobile Comedy Lounge before I was.
Really?
Yeah. And so anyway, but I can tell you exactly when the comedy bubble burst and clubs everywhere started going out of business. It was the day that I said, you know what, I think I'll quit my job and be a comedian.
They all got the memo and said, no, we're going to just tank this whole industry just to fuck with Ben.
Yeah. At that moment, somebody walked into a bar in someplace like, Raleigh, North Carolina, that did comedy and with a karaoke machine and said, we can do this, and you don't have to pay anybody but me.
Wow.
And so that's that. Yeah, it started to be where I was having to drive further and further and further to get gigs, and some gigs were fine, some gigs. This is like 1990 something, and so you're getting paid like maybe $150 a show to middle, and a lot of times if you went to a comedy club, you were there for the whole weekend, and it'd be like one show on Friday, and one show on Thursday, 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday. So, and that's $150 each show. So that's not bad.
Right.
If you were emceeing, you got 50. So sometimes I was driving like 6 hours to make $50. And but you did it because you loved it, and but yeah, it just got to be too much wear on the. My car finally gave out, and I had to take a regular job, and
oh God, that's the third layer of hell. I read Dante's Inferno. Corporate America.
Yes.
Corporations. That's to say corporate America. Yeah. Corporations.
I've been pretty lucky in
the oligarchy.
I have been pretty lucky in that though, because when I took my regular job, I was sitting in the food court of the mall. Remember that? Okay. And
Sbarro's Pizza.
This guy that ran at the time, they ran Barney's Coffee and Tea, which is what I frequented. I used to, when I wasn't doing comedy, which was like you were off, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'd hang out, and I was always a big coffee drinker, and so I was hanging out there a lot, and Rob's doing a schedule, and he says, "Hey, would you like to work like maybe 1 or 2 days a week, when you're not out You know, he said, because I'm kind of short-handed right now. And I was like, sure. He said, you're here so much, all I got to show you is the cash register, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's how that started, and that was 1993.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, something like that. And I now work for Starbucks, which, yeah, that's corporate. That's very corporate, but it's a good kind of corporate.
One of the better ones.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Starbucks and the way that they approach the company employee relationships and stuff like that. I think they understand that if the people that work for you like you and feel like they're appreciated and feel like they're taken care of, they'll work harder. And so many companies either don't care or don't know that, and I don't know which one it is necessarily. But
I'm gonna go with don't care.
Yeah.
My experience is don't care.
And I don't know why, because I mean,
well, it's a thing where if you pay the people that work for you enough money to keep living, and pay their bills, then you can't afford a second yacht.
Yeah.
And fuck that shit.
Yeah, right. And
that's how it looks from over here.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's just that, like, you go into Walmart and you think, what would this company be like? What kind of atmosphere would I be walking into if they actually, like, treated their employees the way that Starbucks treats theirs?
Well, there's a difference between employees and what's the word I'm looking for? Slaves.
Yeah. Yes. And in fact, I'm not being very Starbuckian in the fact that I'm saying employees. We are called partners because we all own some stock in the company,
which is good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just wonder, on what kind of modern futuristic level Walmart would be on now, instead of just being, because when Walmart first opened, people were like, hey, I'm going to go to Walmart. You want to go? Yeah. Can I go? Yeah, I need some stuff. And now it's like, I got to go to Walmart. Oh, fuck. Oh, I don't know. Should I just go ahead and have another bowl of mayonnaise and just put it off till tomorrow? I just don't feel like dealing with going to Walmart.
Yeah.
And it's become that. And
it has. Why do you think it's become that way? Like, why is...
I think that's a major part of it. I think that they don't really care that much about your experience as a customer, and they don't really care much about their employees' experience as employees. They just know that you're going to go there because you have to, at some point. You might divert here or there. It's like, oh God, I'm not going to go. I'll go spend a little more, but there's something. But eventually, there's going to be something that you need.
Yeah, sooner or later at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah. And
when there's no other option.
And they got you, and
bastards.
And then there's some people that I think just don't, for whatever reason, because you can watch these people all day on social media and see what goes into Walmart, that just like, man, Walmart's great. And yeah, I'm gonna go to Walmart, and hang out. That's when you really have issues. Is I'm gonna go to Walmart and hang out. I'm gonna ride the trolleys that have the
people movers.
The people movers, yeah.
The people movers. Heck yeah. You can't call them crippled mopeds anymore.
No,
that's
well,
not
we
PC.
can.
It's not politically correct.
It's not. It's we can talk about that for a minute. The
what, mopeds?
well, yeah, no, political correctness in comedy, because it's Jerry Seinfeld said he won't do
colleges
anymore because they're so sensitive about and when you think about it, I don't know what Jerry Seinfeld would say that would offend you that much.
Right.
I mean, he doesn't even curse.
I know.
I watched him do 90 minutes one night at the Sanger recently, and didn't say a curse word. So I don't know what he would be saying that would piss somebody off that badly.
I think one of the things, if I were Jerry, and I haven't heard him talk about it yet, but if I were Seinfeld and some university asked me to come and then they said, but we don't want you to do, I'd stop right there and be like, did you fucking Jerry Seinfeld? I think that's me.
Yeah, right.
And you are not Jerry Seinfeld. And who's telling who to do what?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Bye.
Yes,
like,
yes.
I'd quit right then and there.
Yeah.
But I get walking into, this safe space.
Yeah.
Who wants to walk into a fight with one arm behind your back?
Right. And
it's
comedy
not fun.
can't be a safe space.
No, it's not. No.
It can't.
Truth. It's got to be truth. If it's not the truth, it's not funny.
Steve Martin said.
No, it's not always true.
Steve Martin said comedy is not pretty, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's it can be ugly and it can be in your face, and it's supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to.
It's tragic too.
It can be.
It's the other side of comedy.
Yeah.
Right?
I've been through some tragedy doing comedy, but
it's the reason pretty people aren't funny. Like where we started.
But I mean, if you don't have that, even a clean joke, even a clean joke has to kind of slap you in the face with something.
Innuendo.
Otherwise, it's not going to give you that reaction. You can't be safe and be that funny.
Right. That comedy club closed. I heard somebody tried to do a clean comedy club, Boston, New York, somewhere like that.
You can do it.
Didn't make it.
You can do it. And I think it depends on the comedian. Because, like I said, Seinfeld...
Yeah, but that's not a whole club.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's one person's act.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's individual to the comedian.
Yeah.
If that's the way you speak normally...
Then people buy it.
Right.
Because it's real.
Yeah. I mean, if you
There's
just
honesty.
don't curse a lot, if you're just not, and if you don't curse a lot and you do it, you amp it up in order to be funny, people can tell. People get that, does your mother know you're talking like that? Because you don't look like the kind of guy that, my friend Melvin has said that before. He's that way.
Yeah.
He's just like, it doesn't feel natural coming from me. I say what feels natural to me.
Yeah.
And that's, but that's it. So yeah, I mean, and it's harder to write clean.
Much harder.
It's
much harder. But it's a very valuable skill, I think.
It is. Yeah. Everyone should try it.
Because it is so hard. Because it is so hard.
It is. And if you write clean and you get in a club situation that's rowdy and they want a kind of like, down and dirty comedian, you can add that.
Yeah.
You can add it to it. It's harder to take it away. Yeah. And so I love Eddie Izzard. I don't know if you.
I love Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Eddie
Like
Izzard.
he's my best buddy.
Yeah.
Holy, yeah. He's a great comedian.
He is. And
Dressed to Kill was one of my favorite specials for a couple of reasons. Because it was one of my entrees into, this is as much performance as it is writing a punchline.
Yeah.
Like he was the first storyteller that caught me off guard. Just because that's kind of his thing, is to be so cliche and yet so stereotypical at the same time. And he does it so well. And it was my first time seeing something like that. And it was like,
the thing that I like about Eddie is that because he is a he doesn't say transvestite. He's
executive transsexual.
Right, he does use the term transsexual now, but in the old Dress to Kill, he used the term transvestite. And like I said, executive transvestite. And but the thing that I liked about him was that because he has, that's him. It's not just a gag. I mean, that's him. He could have easily been a one-topic comic, where it's like it's all about him cross-dressing, and that I don't necessarily care a lot for comedians that are one-topic comedians. And I'm trying to think of Louis Anderson is like, to me, it's like after about 30 or 40 minutes, you're going, okay, I get it, you're fat. Okay, can you move on to another subject?
You make a different noise.
Right. Yes. And Eddie, he comes out and he has to address it. He's in women's clothes. It comes so he comes out and he addresses the topic of being transsexual, and then he moves on. And he moves on to all kinds of different subjects. He's like a one-man Monty Python, and he does all these weird little off-the-wall, if you try to take something a joke he's done out of the context of his act,
it doesn't.
It's like, how did he get there?
Because I think about specifically his Hitler stuff. And
Uh-huh.
even remembering it, it's like, how did he get into that? Even right now, I can barely remember.
My daughter saw him.
Good observation.
My daughter saw him in Dallas, and she tried to act. And she said, okay, you have to understand, he's talking about God made the world, is making the world, but he's being interrupted in making the world by a badger. And it's like,
where did that setup come from?
If you saw the whole show, it would have flowed right into that.
Sure.
And you would have been right there with him. But just taking that out of, a badger is talking to God while he's trying to create the world, and the badger is saying, "Could you hurry, please? I'm hungry." And he's like, "Well, I've got a couple more days to go. I've not finished yet." He's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, I don't know. I'm just hungry." He's like, "Well, okay, here's some broccoli. There you go." Okay, there you go. He's like, "I don't like broccoli." He's like, what do you want? He said, "A nice creme brulee. That would be good." And he goes, all right, creme brulee. There you go. Now leave me alone. I got work to do." And that, "But I'm sorry, it's not scorched on top. It's really not creme brulee unless it's scorched on top." And he goes, "Oh, well, apparently I see badgers can be choosers." And the whole audience went, "Oh." and he goes, "I'm sorry. Did Dallas, Texas just boo something God said?"
That's wonderful. So smart.
I got to meet him shortly in Atlanta several years ago when he was signing autographs at Tower Records. That's how long ago it was. Tower Records, yeah. And
age us both. Thanks, Ben.
Right. And so he was there, and we stood in line for like about an hour to get to where he was. And one of the reasons was he talked to everybody. Mm-hmm. He wasn't just like, "What's your name? There you go. Thank you very much. Move along." He was like, "Hey, how you doing? What what's and he would talk to you for a while. And that's actually how I say his name, Eddie Izzard, and because I asked him, I was like, as we were talking, I said, so how, okay, is it Izzard or Izzard? And he goes, it's neither. Say baseball. It's baseball. So now say Izzard. Oh, okay. You don't put any emphasis on either syllable. But at the end of the day, and he said, at the end of the day, if you pay me, you can call me any fucking thing you want. There you go. Yeah.
Truth in advertising.
Right.
Truth in advertising.
Yeah. But, my point was with Eddie is that he's, when you listen to his act, he has a lot of, fuck all, fuck, he says, because he's British and they love the word fuck. Yeah, and, but if you listen to his material, it's not dirty. It's not blue material.
Yeah.
It's just if you take all the fucking hell and stuff like that out of it, it's clean. So I think that was my point. If you can write like that, and then you can add, what you need to it, or if that's just, again, it's Eddie. That's the way he speaks. He's a Brit. And Brits love their fuck. Yeah, they love fuck.
That makes sense, though. That personality, that part of his personality comes through in his filler. Like those are his verbal attends, basically.
Right. But he does very
true
little.
True to form.
He does very little sexualized material. Carrot Top used to say. Used to tell the audience, he said, I don't have a lot of sexy jokes. He's like, because if I stood up here and I was saying I was fucking this girl the other night, you'd be looking at me like, no, you weren't.
And then he became a meathead. He got real big into the gym and.
Yeah, when I knew him, he was a little skinny guy.
I think he got tired of being a little skinny guy and then went the other way.
In board shorts and, and...
right, with a suitcase full of dildos and whatnot.
Right. And we used to, when he would come to Mobile to do the Mobile Comedy Lounge, we would hang out at the mall for the show, because he loved hanging out at malls. He said every town, and I got into this habit too. When every town I went into to do a show, I would wind up checking out their mall.
Just to see.
Yeah.
Was it an accurate representation of places?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes?
Right? Yeah. And there's some great malls. I mean, like Orlando has some fantastic malls.
There was the Mall of America. Did you ever make that one? The biggest one in the country or some shit?
No, that's somewhere up in
Midwest.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it? It's not North Dakota, but it's somewhere in
Wisconsin,
that.
Maybe?
It's somewhere
Montana.
in an area where you don't want to be outside very much.
Right.
Hence the whole mall. Yeah. Or Edmonton Mall in Canada is the same way. It's like, because it's Canada, it's fucking freezing outside. Yeah, the biggest mall in the world. Yeah, because nobody wants to be outside.
They covered. They basically just covered a whole town.
Right. Yeah.
So they could share the heating bill.
Right. So.
It's our front to climate change.
Yeah. So anyway, he and I, we'd hang out at the mall, and this was when he was really first starting out, and he had been on a few things like Caroline's Comedy Hour on A&E and stuff like that. And he hadn't really hit the Tonight Show yet or anything like that. So every once in a while, somebody would come up and go, "Oh, you're that guy, you're that comedian." I saw but mostly. You're just walking around, and he looks like he looks all the time, And so they had a Dippin' Dots place in the mall at the time, and this
because they're the mid-90s,
right? And so this chick is, this young lady.
It was the mid-90s. You can call her a chick.
Yeah,
we established that.
Yeah. She's eating a Dippin' Dots thing. And so, Carrot Top, whose name is Scott, Scott goes up to her and he's like, "Hey, where'd you get that?" And she just does she does this. She's like, and for those just listening, she snubbed him basically. She just went and just turned around and starts to walk off. And he's like, "Hey, I'm not hitting on you. I just want to know where you got your ice cream from, you fucking bitch." You know? And because she didn't even turn, she just kept right on walking.
Wow.
Like, you know.
And there is the tragedy on the other side of comedy.
Right.
It's ugly and it's nasty, because to be that funny, don't snub somebody that's funny, because they're gonna be mean. That's fucking great. You fucking bitch.
Yeah. And at that point I was like, let's not do that in the mall. I don't know all the
Mall security guards.
Security here. And, but he's like, "God damn it, what did I do?" But yeah, his name is Scott Thompson. That's his real name. And he lived in Winter Park, Florida, when I also lived down there. And I was working at a coffee shop. I was working at Barney's Coffee and Tea in Orlando. And he walked in one day, just walking. I didn't, neither one of us knew the other lived there,
Really?
Yeah. And so he walks in, and I was like, "Hey, Scotty." And he's like, "I know you." And I was like, "Yeah, I used to open for you in Mobile." And he goes, "Fuck!" In the middle, I was like, "Oh, okay, let's not, whoa." Yeah.
Well, that's a rare occurrence to run into somebody.
Yes.
Very small.
It is, yeah. And I've been really, I really have gotten friendships out of comedy that I've really cherished. Melvin Jackson is one of those guys. He was at the Mobile Comedy Lounge when I first walked in there, and Killer Bees. And now we both know his son.
Yeah, Truett.
Truett Beasley. And which is fine, because I knew Truett when he could just barely see over this counter, and now he's doing whatever it is that he calls stand up, and and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm not saying but he's not a traditional stand up there and tell a joke with a setup and a premise and a punchline. Kind of he is kind of on that plane of performance art kind of thing.
I would say somewhere between Eddie Izzard and Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
A lot of satire and a lot of physical comedy.
And they shouldn't be, but I said, but I know what I'm talking about because I've done it, and I'm saying you could do it.
Yeah.
Because I knew Lindsay was a writer. She wrote poetry. She wrote, she wrote like a journal, things. She was a writer, and so she wrote her feelings, and it's like, you can do that, because you have to be a writer to be a comedian. Yeah. Nobody just gets up and makes this shit up off the top of their head. Right. Nobody. It may look like it, and you may think they do. You may think Robin Williams just used to get up and it was all a free flow of ideas from the moment. It's not. Not even close. He had a plan every night of what he was going to talk about. He might divert, he might digress, but there was a structure there. Yeah. And so he said, you have to. And so, so she did, and I was amazed. I'm still amazed. I think she's just one of the funniest people I know, and I hope, and I know she can. We always joke about your Netflix special is going to be called With an E, because. No. It's with an A. It's with an A. She is adamant about that. LANDSAY, fuckers. And but I've always said she's the little sister I never wanted. And But she's but yeah, I think she has. I think she can do that. I think she could be like a like Eliza Schlesinger.
I think so too. She's awesome.
Yeah.
If for anybody listening, if you are not familiar with Lindsay or haven't seen her stand up, she was on Truth, Love, and Peace. I can't remember the episode number, but she's there, and she is fucking hilarious. It was a good time sitting down with her.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, go check out Lindsay's episode. I'll tag it.
I like the name of your podcast, by the way.
Thanks.
I'm an old hippie at heart.
Truth, Love, and Peace.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm an old hippie. I was a hippie when hippies were actually hippies. In high school, I graduated in '77. I'll be 60 years old in December.
Congratulations on that.
No, thanks. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But because it's just so weird to think. I was like, I have to keep reminding myself every day I'm not 30.
Right.
You know, it's especially when I'm talking to a 20-something-year-old woman. I mean, I have to continuously. You are not 30 anymore. You know, don't. You know, don't hit on her. They have to be at least older than my daughter. That's my rule.
Why that rule?
Because it's fucking creepy. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Sorry, I held it together as long as I could before I laughed, but I had to ask.
Yeah. Because, you know, it's like...
fucking creepy.
Yeah. I mean, she's 32. And so I figure, you know, at least the very most older than my daughter, you know. I mean, just... And now, if they hit on me, all bets are off. I mean, that's, you know, that's them. That's on them.
You know?
Right.
You brought this on yourself.
Yeah. But generally speaking, I'm, you know... and I'm dated the I'm dating, not dated. I'm dating a woman who's 50 now. She's 51 now, and I was congratulating myself in front of Alfred and the governor for it being like the most mature woman I've dated ever. You know,
it's still younger than you.
Yeah, and they said, and then at the time she was 50, and they said, you do realize you're still almost a decade older than she is. I was like, yeah, and the governor says, yes, you're still robbing the cradle. It's just that now it's an antique cradle, and.
God damn. Yeah. He never misses a beat.
Yeah, no.
He never misses a beat. But with that comes a lot of love because there is a certain amount of you being the rock star comedian of the group.
Oh.
that you get women. You know it's not in anybody else's wheelhouse to have women a decade younger than them knocking on their doors.
Yeah. So. I wouldn't say she's knocking on my door. I had to go. I had to go to her place, but you know.
Well,
but I had to go to her, but you know.
That's right. Answering the door, either way.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Either way, there's voluntary involvement in whoever knocked.
Yes. You always want that in a relationship is
consent.
Consent. Yes, that's right.
It's really good.
You want voluntary involvement. It's
unless you're in prison.
Yes.
And then you make do.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you want it to be right. Somebody should have told that to Louis C.K., but they didn't. And
I think he actually got consent in some of the weirder circumstances, which is way more disturbing.
Yeah.
That it's still abusive to do that, but still.
It is, and especially if you're in a situation where I I can help your career.
Right.
If you
It's obviously an abuse of power.
if you watch me masturbate, which is the dumbest thing I think a guy can ever say to a woman. I don't know what that's about. I mean, that's the stuff. That's what you do when you don't have a woman. Why are you wanting women to watch you do that? That's that's you know, it's like going to a casino and going, watch me play solitaire.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
You know, I mean, why would you?
It's definitely a form of, I think, masochism.
I guess, yeah, maybe so. Yeah, but so is comedy.
Right. There's a lot of self-flagellation that goes on in both of those.
Yes.
So maybe that's what it is. There's obviously a lot of fucked upness involved in all of that. Mental health is a problem, but our culture is just so vile in so many ways that I think that's one of the things we're recovering from right now. The things like Louis C.K. have shown a light into what have been intentionally dark corners for too long, and that's starting to change. Yeah, and that's good. I think it's just I'm hoping for there to be some you have to have some evidence of things sometimes, because I think just being able to say, that person did this and not have anything to back that up with, is kind of a dangerous precedent to set. We have to. Well, I think everybody lost faith in social media when it got a president elected.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the most current one. Even previously, the amount of influence that social media has had in the least regulated, least checked ways has been alarming for a lot of people. And here we are in the midst of, there's no control over just horrifically damaging social mobs, like social media justice. Yeah. And so I think we've swung really far in that direction, and people are starting to have this conversation where we got to do something about this.
Yeah. So. I'm a big, I love Facebook. I love Facebook and Reddit, and I've just started getting into Reddit. Actually, my son was like, "Why aren't you on Reddit?" And I was like, "Because I don't know what that is." and he's like, then he showed me, and so but yeah, I mean, it's Facebook especially, because I have the band, the comedy. And you want to promote that, and but then it becomes like your own little, like, for me it's like my own little outlet. It's my own little version of the Daily Show, where I can just talk about things, and you can test out. You can also test out some material. You can write something, and if you got enough likes, it's like maybe that is funny. And I do a lot of. I am very political on Facebook. And I try to. Sometimes it's hard given the climate that we're in now, but I do try to find some kind of humor in it, if I can. Sometimes you can't, but most of the time I try to find some spin that can make it, at least you can laugh at how horrible something is sometimes.
And that's what the greats do so easily. It's something I'm still trying to learn how to do too.
It's what John Oliver does. Have you ever?
I like John.
John Oliver can can tell you about the most depressing or frightening thing on Last Week Tonight, and still make it funny.
Now, is that a limitation to a character, or is it a tool that any comedian can develop?
That's a good question. I think it's probably a limitation to a character, because I think everybody approaches comedy differently.
Sure.
Through your own personality.
Yeah, everybody's lens.
So again, I don't think you can. I think you have a natural, like, you have a natural direction you will go into with comedy. You know, some people like Lewis Black are very political, and some people are just never going to be because that's not them.
Demeanor, character,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
just doesn't work. Doesn't
Yeah,
fit.
yeah. I'm really not that political on stage because I've tried it, and it doesn't elicit a lot of response. I don't know whether just people are tired of it,
Probably. There's a touch of that.
or and then sometimes I've done it not meant to be, but I just did a joke because I thought it was funny, and that's where it works. It's like, I'm not trying to be political. This is just funny.
Punchline before a point.
Yeah, and
Punchline.
I was and if something's going on in the world, especially, you know, very recently, that's on everyone's mind, and well, you can go up and not address it, but it's on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to do a show in Pensacola one night where the day after an abortion doctor had been murdered.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was talking to the other comedians because I hadn't gone up yet, and I was like, "You think? I mean,
Too soon?
yeah, is it? I mean, because everybody, you know, everybody's thinking about it, and you know, I struggled with it for a minute, and then, you know, I decided, okay, well, they're either going to laugh or they're going to hate me for the rest of my set, you know. And
These are the choices we make.
right? And so I went up and I was like, "Hi, I'm Ben." I said, I was a little late getting here. I ran into a problem. I locked my keys in my car, and after what I read in the news, there's no place I'm going to go in this town and ask anybody for a wire coat hanger. And then they laughed, and I was like, "Oh, thank God!" You know.
Yeah.
But they needed they were expecting somebody
Sure.
to say something.
Yeah.
You know, and so that, you know, it was just like it was a little cathartic.
Yeah.
You know, and
Just need somebody to take that first step so they can follow you.
yeah, and so that, you know, but I seldom do something exactly like that. The show I did with Bobcat Goldthwait was October the 1st, 2002, which was 2002. Was it 2002 or 2001 that was the...
So that was 9/11 was one.
oh, yeah, okay. It was October 1st, 2001.
I think it was one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
It was only a month, or not even quite a month after 9/11, and so we're like, how are we gonna approach this? You know, and so, well, you know, you can't do a joke about
Dead
what
people.
happened.
Right.
Yeah, right. But you can joke about the people that did it. You know. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, you know, that's what I did. I can't remember all the bit because it was just a short thing, but it was all about, you know, them trying to find Osama bin Laden, and, you know, they had just come out with the thing about the fact that he was on kidney dialysis.
Oh yeah.
And that he had sent for a dialysis machine.
Yeah.
To be delivered to his cave, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, we can't find him. But FedEx can, you know? You know? And I said, maybe we should just mail him a bomb.
Right.
It's like, you know? But, you know, that might, because maybe, you know, he's not going to be there, and then the guy in the cave next door will sign for it, and then, you know, he gets it, and then,
Yeah. We got to know somebody at WebMD
right,
that can hook
right,
this up.
yeah, right.
You know.
But
Who is he getting his medical supplies
yes,
through? Don't we own all those
yeah.
companies? Oh yeah. Oops.
but
That's a good one though. That's a good one. 6-foot tall Middle Eastern guy on
on
dialysis.
and nobody can find him.
Find him. He's got better cell signal in a cave than that little bastard that quit Verizon.
And then, Barack Obama and his administration was the one that finally got, Osama bin Laden. And when he ran for his second term, which I can't remember who he ran against because I didn't vote for them. It was Romney. That's what it was, Romney. I was like, all you have to do, is just go, I got Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
And let that be it. Don't debate. You go out on a debate, every question is like, hey, I got Osama bin Laden. Next question. And just, because I also said that should have been, that what should have been Hillary Clinton's campaign slogan in her answer to every question was, I'm not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That should have been her whole message. Especially since we all really wanted Bernie anyway.
Right.
And we didn't get Bernie, so we got her. So that her message, that thing that she should have just stuck right on was, I'm not him. And she didn't stick to that point, and
which is unfortunate.
That should have been the answer to every question at a debate was, I'm not that guy. Listen to what he says. Whatever he says, I'm not that. And
The upside is things. The equal and opposite in kind. So it takes some breaking shit on one end for us to get all the way to, Gene Roddenberry's egalitarian Star Trek world.
Yeah. That's funny. Because I was talking to somebody about that not the other day. It was because I was talking about I'm a Democrat. I identify, I guess, because people say, I was like, okay, I'm a liberal. I guess I'm a liberal. Okay, because everybody keeps telling me I am because if I have a solution to a problem, they're like, well, why don't we do this? Well, you're just a fucking liberal.
You got to switch it up and go with independent and be like, what are we talking about? And I'll give you my position. It freaks people out, and then they don't get to pigeonhole you, and it ruins their whole argument. Because all they have are your mama jokes, but they're you're a Democrat jokes.
Right, yeah.
That's how sad they are now.
So I guess, what I really am is a socialist Democrat. And so my point was...
Sorry, I derailed
That's
you.
all right. That's all right.
You adopted the label because people kept yelling it at you.
Yes. But damn, I lost it. I hate that.
That's my fault.
That's age. That's also age.
We were talking about we all would have rather had Bernie.
Yeah.
And the social democrat gets us to the newly elected New York.
You were talking about Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek.
Yes,
that's the difference between libertarianism and social democracy. Is social democracy eventually leads to Star Trek, and libertarianism eventually leads to Mad Max. I mean,
it's the same reason that Ayn Rand was fucking retarded, because individualism doesn't exist. No human being exists in a vacuum. It requires a community. It requires another human being for you to learn to be human. And so to pretend like you can equivocate which one is better is to pretend like there's some kind of objective truth that everybody has access to, which is total bullshit, because truth is the sum total of all perspective.
Yes.
We struggle and we try and we want to get there, but any one person that claims to have all those answers is fucking wrong. And yet they keep trying to sell that. Why do they keep trying to sell that? It makes me angry. This is where I get in trouble. I get angry.
Yes.
It's very, very unfortunate.
Eddie Izzard is getting into politics.
Oh, good to hear.
Yes.
A voice of reason.
Yes. He has run for something in London not long ago.
Good.
I don't think he won, but I mean, I think he wants to kind of get into a political area.
Well, technology has allowed celebrity to wield a new version of power, and that is that fame. You know, fame can be mobilized in a much more efficient manner than it used to be able to be. And,
and I take. I'm opposed to people that are like, why don't these celebrities just shut their mouths because they're celebrities and they shouldn't have an opinion? And it's like, well, no, they're still citizens.
Yeah, those people just don't like their opinion.
Right.
That's all.
And because they never say that about the celebrities that are that
because they like their opinion.
Right.
Exactly.
But they do. They're like, they shouldn't give an opinion. And I was like, well, no. If I had that platform, I would most certainly use it. Hopefully create a positive message. Because and why wouldn't you? I mean, like I said, they're citizens like we are. If they.
It's one of the things I love about Jim Carrey, just to plug that dude at the moment, because he has reached that level where it doesn't matter what people say or do. Like he's his own little independent country, if you will.
Yeah.
And people that reached that level of financial freedom have a responsibility to be that voice of dissension, because they lack recourse, or they lack the typical forms of recourse that people who live paycheck to paycheck, who can't stand up for themselves, they need. And so there's an obligation for people who have platforms to speak the truth. And we've gotten into this situation where, unfortunately, Ayn Rand and that whole 1984 Orwellian concept of I'm in my house, just leave me the fuck alone, just please, just don't harass me, has worked. It's worked very, very efficiently from the government standpoint, and now people are so terrified to speak out for what's right and good. We find ourselves on the precipice of what 40 years ago or what 60 years ago looked like a horrific revolution of social cleansing. But the last time authoritarian rhetoric sprang its head so viciously and so openly, the results were far more catastrophic than they have been thus far. And the only reason it hasn't been that way, I think, is because of social media and because of celebrities that are able to utilize that social media effectively. But that ties back into comedy, because I think one of the reasons that it's interesting that you can tie these big economic booms to comedy and entertainment in particular. But like when all the comedy clubs went away, burst of the tech bubble.
Yes.
And so on and so forth throughout history. So it's interesting, and it's always been interesting to me that music seems to be this steady thing in entertainment. But when things get really, really ugly, everybody looks back to the comedians to do like Dave Chappelle said, like to uphold this tradition, responsibility, obligation to speak truth to authority.
Yeah, we're the court jesters. I mean, that's
there's a ton of stuff in there. If there's anything you want to add to that, go right ahead.
No, there is. I mean, it goes back to being the court jester and being able to, say things in a way that isn't necessarily threatening, but is still, the truth. It's the reason why the king would let the court jester say shit that he wouldn't let anybody else say.
Yeah.
Because he's just being funny.
Right.
Yeah. But he's also saying, that the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's what, and now, and that's happened that Jon Stewart and Trevor Noah and John Oliver and some other people to a lesser
SNL.
extent, have now become a news source for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Infotainment became news.
Information.
Somewhere along the line.
Yeah. And
When everything else lost its credibility is when that credibility was shifted.
Yeah.
I think to the comedians, and maybe that's the thing that we can track, is that throughout history there are these times when the institutions just are so untrustworthy that people look to celebrities and comedians to make that.
Yeah. It's like, make it go away.
Yeah. Or, go talk some sense into these knuckleheads over here that can't take a goddamn joke.
Right. Yes. That's the. How are we doing on time? What are
We're doing great on time.
Okay.
It's a recurring thing. I have to press that button every once in a while. It happens. It's because of the kind of camera we use.
I see.
But we're fine on time.
Okay.
We've been at this for about an hour and a half, which is wonderful. And I don't normally have a time limit, but I do have to make it over to the Tinderbox open mic tonight since it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, since we got Tinderbox plugged already, who else do we need to plug before we get out? Well, before we get to the plugs.
Yes.
Is there anything that you enjoy pondering or thinking about that's part of your philosophy that you don't always get to talk about, but you find recurring a lot that we haven't talked about yet? Like, is there anything you would want to add to this conversation that I didn't think to bring up?
No, I'm pretty shallow.
Good to know. Good to know. To the plugs.
No, it's I've I can't think of anything offhand. I think we touched on.
I tried to tee up all your hot topics for you.
Yes, comedy, music, politics. Again, we should. I guess we should plug the Blind Mule because comedy venues in Mobile are hard to come by because I went really for years in between, before I started doing stand-up again at the Blind Mule, because there just wasn't a place around here. And it's really important. People, I don't know why, but Mobile in particular, and I love Mobile. I was born here. I've lived here the vast majority of my life. I've lived other places. I've wound up back here through no fault of my own. And but they don't support a lot of entertainment, a lot of live entertainment in Mobile on a regular basis. And comedy is one of those things that is, like you can say, well, let's go watch a band, or let's go, and you have plenty of places to choose from to go watch a band, But a comedy club is specific, and so, if you don't support it, it'll go away. Because, it's not like music that can go to all these different venues and everything, and it works.
Right.
One of the things I like the way that the Mule is set up, because it's set up like a comedy club. I've done comedy in some very crappy places for comedy. Where I can't remember where this was, but one place that I was doing comedy, there was a support beam in front of the stage, and so you were kind of like going from one side to the other of the support beam, and then I've done comedy in places where the bar was in the same room as the stage. And so you had people getting up and talking at the bar and getting drinks and walking back to their tables and getting, and then you're just like, and there's all this clatter going on while you're trying to work, which isn't very conducive to.
All kinds of hurdles.
So because there was this one comedy circuit that I was on called the Comedy Zone.
Yeah,
But,
I've heard that name.
And they had they had comedy clubs that they sent you to. There were real comedy clubs, and then they had one-nighters in a bar somewhere. That was not used to doing comedy. Was not set up for comedy.
Yeah, and then you got to educate people and
and
it's a lot.
and you go in. I went in one time and I was like, I'm one of the comedians. Where's your MC? Well, we don't have an MC. You just get up there and start talking. Oh God. And sometimes that works. That's fine. It's nice to have somebody who knows what they're doing bring you up. Maybe do like 5 minutes ahead of you.
Yeah.
Warm up the crowd and then bring you up. I have had some MCs where I thought, I wish I should have just done this myself. Because, I had one guy, because the crowd was a little rowdy that night. This was somewhere in Florida. This was over 20 years ago, so I'm not sure exactly where I was. But the crowd was, they were a little chatty. They were a little, I'm sure that once this guy had gotten up and said, "Hi, welcome to," he would have gotten their attention. But instead of saying, "Hi, welcome to blah, blah," he said, "Shut up, fuckers!" And
so immediately.
No, immediately everybody's like, "What the hell?"
We can be louder than you, and get into that whole thing.
Then there was a show at the Mobile Comedy Lounge where the guy that was bringing us up, that was the MC that night, was a local radio personality. And he was like, "Well, I'm not really a comedian and I don't tell jokes." And I'm thinking, well, that should be where you stop then.
Right?
That's a good point to make.
We don't need any more of your help.
Right, right. And but he was like, "But I'm gonna tell you a joke real quick before I bring up your first act." And he said, "How do you stop a dog from humping your leg?
Oh.
You pick him up and suck his dick. And now here's Ben Frey."
Holy shit. That's brutal.
That's
brutal. And that was Ben Frey, everybody.
Yeah, right.
No.
Right. And so I go up and I'm like, "Well, it's great to be back here and following somebody giving a blowjob to a dog. That's good."
Because how do you get that out of your mind? Oh my gracious.
And
I am fortunate to get to host the open mic at the Blind Mule now. And it's a steep learning curve. It's been a steep learning curve, which is great. I love it.
Yeah,
I love pressure.
it's a different art sort. There's an art to it. Yeah. And and you do a very good job at it, by the way.
Thank you.
Because you do play host. You do it. When Lindsay was going to do it the first time, she was like, I don't know. I mean, I said, pretend it's your show. Pretend that you're on. All of us as kids, especially if we wanted to do this as adults, all of us thought about being Johnny Carson or being, that guy, And so I said, just go back to when you played with your dolls out in front of you, hosting your pretend show. He said, it's just not pretend anymore. Just host it like you're on TV, like you have guests and you're bringing them up. And so that's all you do. And and so it's fun like that because it's everyone who's the MC of the show is kind of like their show. Yeah. The audience looks at you like this is the guy, yes, even if you're not.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
like being the ringmaster at the circus. You know, it's the voice of God every once in a while, or however you want to put it. The regular part.
Yeah.
It's fun though. I enjoy it, and I learn something new every week. I've been a public speaker for a long time, and I've studied communications, and so that's not the hard part for me. The harder part for me has been learning to be funny. And now as a host, the hardest part is learning to be funny, turning that off, being a host, turning that off, being funny, and making that transition back and forth. That's something that I focus a lot on working on, because that seems to be the biggest skill that I can pick up. Like, I've got some jokes that I can pepper in and be funny, being a good host all the time, and so trying to be more seamless in all of that.
Yeah.
Just the repetition of it. You know?
Right.
But I love sitting down and seeing market improvement and getting to pick everybody's brains and be around so many funny people like you and Lindsay and Zeke and Carson. I've gotten to progress faster than I thought I would. And it's so fun to sit back and go, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta laugh. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
There's nothing better, man. I'm so happy I got into it, because it's infectious.
Well, you have a uniqueness about you because of the kilts and and you know, your stage presence is good because, you know, well, you said, you know, you have a lot of public speaking, and I'll say this because, you know, I've had people that I've known people that are like, oh yeah, I took public speaking, but that doesn't mean you can be a comedian.
No.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, because those rules don't always apply.
No.
As a comedian.
No, I understand delivery and rhetoric and persuasion, and that's easy for me. It's easy for me to get up and be a host.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Learning to write jokes and deliver them and get people to laugh on demand, which is what being a comedian is. Walking into a room in front of a bunch of strangers and making them laugh.
Yes.
Is still fucking impossible. It doesn't matter how good I am at standing on stage and being comfortable up there. That is not the other piece. And so this is what I'm working on learning, is how to do all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's fun, but I understand that, and so I can approach it as, okay, this is a game, like, let's figure out this piece, and how do I make it better?
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to beating myself up about it. Like,
you know, it comes natural to a point, but you have to hone it. And, and you know, and it's a craft. I mean, you know, that, and like I said, I think you're fine with that, because, you know, you have not had that. You know, you don't seem like you took public speaking.
Good.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. The people that are too stiff to, you know, like.
Well, so here's a thought. A little insight inside my head. I came into comedy well after I knew what my voice was, and I use know my voice as the analogy to, or as people say, you know, when I really, as a comedian, when I really found my voice and was being, you know, just being genuine and being honest, and it came easy, and you get into that state.
Right.
I had a fully developed, like the kilts and all the stories behind who I am.
Yeah.
I had a fully developed identity to bring to the stage, and so that's an advantage.
Good.
That's an advantage that I had in that, just knowing myself, and that's kind of how that comes out of the truth, love, and peace thing, because I sat down and I took that inventory a long time ago. Yeah. And so I've got that kind of in my belt, and that for me, that's a little lucky. But that means that I've got so much extra work. I find myself working really diligently at writing stuff down now. Yeah. You know, the best piece of advice I've gotten in the last couple of weeks is write everything down verbatim, and start practicing your verbatim, you know, getting that out there. Like, I've been a little too loose with my stuff. And so Tony Burkett, who's fucking
like
awesome.
Crazy. I always write a joke too long.
Yeah, me too.
Always.
Cut all that fat out.
And then I go back. I have to go back and go, okay, well, I don't need this part
This
about
whole page.
right, yeah, I don't need this. And because that old saying, brevity is the soul of wit. You have to get it to where it's boom, boom, boom,
And the same boom, boom, boom over and over. Like,
Yeah.
that's the part that I've been neglecting a little too
Yeah.
much. It's
I've
is
seen
that lack
people
of precision.
I've seen people divert from that at different times that haven't worked for them, but it's seldom.
Yeah.
This guy that I knew back in the day, his name was Ron Schock. He was a storyteller, and so his stuff was not always, premise, setup, punchline, boom, go on to the next thing, boom, go on to the next thing. It was, some of it was a long, drawn-out story that had a payoff,
Yeah.
and different little things along the way that would make you laugh in between,
Yeah.
that, and, and so, and he had a drawl, he had a Texas drawl, and he was part of the Texas Comic Outlaws with Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Notorious company.
yes, they. But he had a Texas drawl like this. He made him sound like Jimmy Stewart, and he did this whole joke about, not joke. He had a story about when he was a kid. His grandmother had a Pekingese that would hump this pillow all the time, and they found out that a dog, like a young kid, he found out that a dog can't ejaculate unless he's with another dog, unless it's And he said, so I was just appalled as somebody who was in puberty to think that this dog has spent his whole life not ever achieving, just getting to that point, but not getting beyond it, He said, I felt so sorry for this dog, and I told my friends about, how, Fluffy couldn't, finish, and and he's like, so one day my friends and I, we got this dog, and we turned him over on his back, and we got that pillow, and we just started rubbing it on him, and he said, and he said, my friends like, come on, Fluffy, come on, go, Fluffy, go, and he said, and this dog was like 12 years old, because that was another thing. It's like, in dog years, this dog is, how long has he lived without having an orgasm? And he's like, and we're rubbing the pillow on him. We're going, go, Fluffy, go. And he got the Pekingese, and he's got that smushed face, so he's kind of just going, and then go, Fluffy, go, and go, Fluffy, go. He said, and finally, for the first time in this dog's life, he came. And then he takes a sip of water, and he goes, and then he died. And the whole, it was like, it's like you threw a grenade into the middle of the audience.
Yeah.
It was just, you saw this shockwave of and,
That's just genius delivery.
yeah.
It's
the time. He had great timing. Timing.
And just all the components of that, building tension, building rapport. I love being able to see something like that or hear that story and just know all of the things that make it great that he never thought about. He was just a storyteller that had the timing and knew where to put it.
He didn't become a comedian until he.
So.
And the reason he did, the reason he went into comedy, and he told us on stage, was because he read a newspaper article. Mm-hmm. And the newspaper article was how the Texas evangelical minister...
Joel Osteen.
Nope.
Billy Graham.
Older than him. No, somewhere between that.
Jimmy Stewart.
Darn. That's going to bug me. But anyway, Oh, Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the lesser-known evangelicals.
Yes. Oral Roberts
Forgettable.
claimed that he, on a drive across Texas, on a lonely road, saw a 500-foot tall vision of Jesus in the desert.
Yeah.
So, you know, when he said, when I saw that, I put it down and I folded the paper and I told my wife, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to be a comedian. You know, and because he said, you know, and one of his one-man shows was called Ron Schock's 500-Foot Tall Jesus and Other Tall Tales. And and he said the whole thing was how when he read the story that Oral Roberts was talking about, that he had he saw this 500-foot tall vision of Jesus in the desert. He said at one point in the article, he said, there I was, face to face with the Lord, and I thought, either Oral is much taller than he looks like on television, or it would necessitate Jesus being upside down. You know? Yeah. So it's an upside down 500-foot vision of Jesus.
That's great. Oh man, I'm thinking of all the ways that I would have tried to word that. Had to be the Buddy Christ.
Yeah, right.
Man, well, this has been a real treat.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, man.
This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well,
you
thank you very much.
The Tinderbox and
yeah.
Well, that's another thing.
Plugs.
The Tinderbox.
Yes,
the Tinderbox every Tuesday at
7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock. Sorry.
Sign ups are at 7.
Yes.
We usually start a little later than that, and then the Blind Mule on Wednesdays and
around 8, I think. Also. Yeah.
And what is the information for the band?
Yes, Still Standing, a tribute to Elton John. We're on Facebook. We're going to be, a small version of my band that I take around occasionally. It's just me and my bass player and my percussionist. We'll be at Friday night at 6. We'll be at La Cachina's in Fairhope.
Fuck yeah, man.
Doing a little, intimate, kind of quiet thing. And within the next night, we'll be in Long Beach, Mississippi at a place called Papa Darwell's, which is a great venue for music. He has a restaurant there that's been on the cooking channel several times.
Oh, wow.
Guy Fieri's been there.
Oh, man.
Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, wow.
Won't be there anymore, but he was there once. And he's been there, and Papa Darwell, he has a huge back area behind that has a stage.
Nice.
And he hosts a lot of musical acts there. Cool. And he's just a character. He's great. He gave me a pair of glasses that he said belonged to Elton John one time. The first time I played there, he came out with these things, and he's like, "Yeah, Elton John gave me these a long time ago." He said, "You probably need them more than I do." And he gave me, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And
is the calendar on the Facebook page?
It is, yes. And
good.
September the 3rd, I want to say, we'll also be in Atlanta doing with the whole band doing the Grand Theater.
Hot Atlanta.
Yeah, which is a place I think similar to our Sanger Theater, sort of.
Probably. Sure.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen like a picture of the outside of it, and kind of looks like that. So I assume that's what it's going to be.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And, yeah.
That'll be great, man. Fucking theater show. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Thanks
yes,
again.
Thanks for having me. And
yeah.
I hope
Thank
we
you
can
for
do this
having
again
me.
sometime.
We definitely will.
Yes.
So for all y'all out there in internet lands, Auf Wiedersehen. Bye-bye.